There's now a second leak investigation underway at Parliament as the draft report into former Minister Meka Whaitiri ended up in the hands of the media. She was sacked last week for an altercation with her press secretary back in August when they were both at a Crown Hui in Gisborne. The draft report, as reported by the New Zealand Herald, says there were photos of a bruise on the staffer's arm and that she was described as looking traumatised after the run-in with Ms Whaitiri. The Prime Minister, still in New York attending the UN General Assembly, says the leak is hugely disappointing and an investigation has been ordered. Here's our political editor, Jane Patterson.
Last week, Jacinda Ardern called a media conference to announce she had stood Meka Whaitiri down after reading the report commissioned by Ministerial Services. She had asked for the report to have the personal details of the press secretary removed before it was released publicly. But a draft copy was leaked to the Herald, which Ms Ardern says is disappointing.
We were going through a process to make sure that that was dealt with appropriately, that we were protecting the employee involved in this situation. I'm advised by the Department of Internal Affairs that they themselves will be undertaking an investigation to find how that leak occurred or how the report came to be leaked. Obviously, the fact that I have stood the minister down out of her role as a minister demonstrates that I was not satisfied with what I received in that report.
The National Party Deputy Leader Paula Bennett says the details in the draft report are extremely concerning, but she says it's not up to her to say whether Ms Whaitiri should quit Parliament altogether.
That's a call that the Prime Minister needs to make, but it seems to me that she's setting a very low bar and a low standard, and I think the country deserves better.
That isn't actually a call for the Prime Minister, though, is it? That one is for Meka Whaitiri herself, whether she leaves Parliament.
Yeah, but it is also for the Prime Minister to set standards amongst her caucus.
Ms Ardern was asked whether Ms Whaitiri should stay on as an MP.
Of course, she's being directly elected by the people of Ikaroa Rāwhiti and continues to represent them. My decision was around her holding ministerial warrants. I made the decision as soon as I saw the report, and I believe it was the right one.
Ms Whaitiri contests part of the report, which the Herald says is about whether there was in fact any physical contact. A member of Ministerial Services and the Press Secretary herself are said to have taken photos of a bruise on her arm. The incident occurred because Ms Whaitiri had missed a media opportunity with the Prime Minister. With the Herald reporting, the Press Secretary is saying the former Minister had grabbed her by the arm and pulled her outside as she needed to talk to her. The co-chair of Labour's Māori caucus, Willie Jackson, has stood by Meka Whaitiri throughout and says nothing has changed.
We've all made it clear that we support what the Prime Minister is saying, and we're going to just leave it at that.
Do you still support Meka Whaitiri?
Oh, that support remains from the Māori caucus.
During parliamentary question time, Mrs Bennett put these questions to Winston Peters as acting Prime Minister.
Is he concerned that Meka Whaitiri still disputes the allegations of physical contact when the report details there were bruises left on the victim caused by physical contact?
Speaker, the report is still private. There has been a leak. That leak is being investigated.
Paula Bennett then asked him if anyone from the government had apologised to the victim.
Can I just say that the victim is not known to me. The report is still confidential and is being released, and the delay is to protect the so-called or alleged victim. And that I'm answering the question as the way a lawyer would, not the way some twit would, like you.
The government says the release of the redacted version of the report will go ahead as planned, which should be within the next few weeks. From Parliament for Checkpoint, Jane Patterson.